Thank you for tuning in to this meeting of the Downtown Development Authority. This meeting will start at 8 a.m. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to this meeting of the Downtown Development Authority. This meeting will start at 8 a.m. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to this meeting of the Downtown Development Authority. This meeting will start at 8 a.m. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to this meeting of the Downtown Development Authority. This meeting will start at 8 a.m. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to this meeting of the Downtown Development Authority. This meeting will start at 8 a.m. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon.
All right. We have a full agenda, so I'd like to call to order this Downtown Development Authority Board meeting Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. First order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from April 13th. Any comments or questions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the April 30th, 22 financials. Ms. Chapman, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Your financial statements as of April 30, 2022 are in your packet. Currently, we are about 79% of the way through the budget in the non-tax fund and about 38% through the local tax fund. You'll notice on statement B, in the middle column, the debt tax increment down at the bottom, we have now fulfilled our budget for debt service, which means our DeVos Place bonds are now paid off. So, yeah, I think that deserves a party. You will still see some residual activity happening in the debt tax fund as I deal with the state to figure out how to handle tax appeals and things that are coming. But all the major activity in that fund will be closed after the end of this year.
You said DeVos Place, but you mean the arena.
I'm so sorry, arena.
Just
yes,
the-
I'm so sorry.
just for
Yes,
the-
please
okay.
correct that.
That would be nice, too.
Yeah, I'm sure Kent County would really appreciate
Yes.
that. I would ask for approval for statement D if there are no questions.
Any questions?
I move approval of statement D.
Support.
All right, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next is the budget adoption. Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. So final stop on our budget parade for FY23. As you recall, you considered and recommended this last month to the City Commission. The City Commission approved it yesterday. And so it comes back to you for final adoption. So it's sort of the last step. No changes were made through that process, and bringing it back before you today for that. Maybe before your vote, I did just want to say a note of thanks to the staff for helping to pull all this together. It's obviously a lot of work. And then also wanted to say thank you to Tricia Chapman from the city for all of her help in pulling these together. So with that, any questions? Be happy to take them.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of questions and just informational questions. I noticed that goal 6 from the forward plan is not addressed. So that's one question. And then sort of a follow-up is, with all of these, what is our process to flesh out more sort of KPIs or progress metrics? I've noticed that some of the reporting on progress on the site is on the website of Baskin Places. It might be a little dated.
Yeah, good questions. Starting with the first one, goal 6. So that was our partnership with GRPS. There were a couple of initial projects that were done pretty straight out of the gate. We are actually in conversations with them right now in terms of how we can revisit some of the priorities that they're working on and that overlap with downtown. So that's certainly hasn't gone away and is work that we'll continue on. In terms of KPI, we do track those often through DGRI on an annual reporting basis. So we do have some report outs I'm happy to share with the DDA board, but I appreciate your point about getting those on the website and keeping that updated. So that's something we'll look at.
And maybe it might be something to consider, some sort of dashboard for each of the 6. And I think the first 5 have 5 sub goals. But something that sort of allows us to see relative to each project how it's contributing, where we're at. I mean, the plan's 7 years old,
Yeah.
and it feels like we've made meaningful progress, but it also feels like we have meaningful distance to go.
Yeah,
So
there's
still,
certainly work to do.
It's
but
still
yeah.
a very current roadmap.
Yep.
But where we're at on that journey would be helpful to better understand.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No, then I would entertain a motion to adopt the budget for 2023. All right, all in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is 2023 DASH agreement. Tim?
Yep. So one of our First actions with the FY23 budget, request to approve our contribution to the DASH service for the coming fiscal year. As we've been doing over the past couple of years, this is proposed to be a one-year extension. Our contribution amount is the same as it was in fiscal year 22, so the request to the DDA is for an amount not to exceed $270,000. We are obviously working very closely with the city and Mobile GR, continuing to monitor ridership. We have seen an increase as visitors have started to come back downtown. We want to make sure that the service is useful and meaningful, and so we'll use this year again to monitor. The hope is that between now and the beginning of FY24, we could start to look at a more multi-year agreement and make sure that the service is being utilized. So with that, be happy to take any questions.
So there is a bigger evaluation going on, right, Josh? Yeah. Yeah. Mayor?
I was just gonna bring that up. I appreciate this coming forward, but I wanna make sure that, DGRI is actively involved in the transit master plan work that's being done right now, because that could result in some recommended changes. I know Andy Guy serves on the Rapid Board, so DDA has a strong voice around that table, but it would be nice as that process moves forward to make sure that the alliances are engaged, as some of the recommendations come out of that process.
Yeah. Great point. Anything else? Yes?
I'd just be interested in seeing the numbers, the data, in terms of what does an increase mean, and perhaps some comparisons.
Yeah, and we do, the vitals report has been tracking that. So there is some in there, but we can certainly show how that compares more to the prior years. But Member Talon.
I'm sorry.
Is there an expectation that the Spectrum Health Project will have a small impact, a significant impact on Dash traffic there? Not at all? And
Hard to say at this point. I think, as more people are downtown and they become aware of the service, the hope is that they use it. I think that certainly that's an opportunity to look at, but hard to say one way or the other at this point.
have there been conversations with I mean, I'm curious whether folks will be traveling between Spectrum locations downtown, whether the Dash would be part of that, or?
Yeah, I might look to Josh if there's any specific conversations with Spectrum.
We have talked to them about it. Right now, as their plans are, that they're looking at a circulation plan, and they did a mobility study. Their big thing is trying to connect people up and down to the hill, and they're focusing more on some walking improvements and other things as part of that, because the Dash doesn't currently go there. But all of their employees also receive transit passes as well to use the Silver Line and the Laker Line as well. So,
Thank you.
but we hope that they'd be able to use it to go into downtown and different businesses elsewhere, both in North Monroe and elsewhere in downtown.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
We're going to have to get this poll removed. All right. I need a motion to approve the Dash agreement for 2023.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have support? Thanks. Member McNeely. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Creative Services for River Nonprofit. Andy Guy. Good morning.
Yeah, requesting some funds today for Creative Services to support the continued startup of the nonprofit organization we're organizing to help lead River Corridor revitalization. As you all know, we've been at this for almost a couple of years now, very intentionally organizing leadership around this governance model. We have established a founding board of the nonprofit organization, begun to develop some bylaws, and really getting the mechanics of the organization in place. One next step to really bring this effort to life is to give this organization an identity, a name. We've all been kind of using Grand River Inc. as a little bit of a boring placeholder, if you will. So looking to engage a creative firm to help us with the name of the organization, a brand identity, and then start to think a little bit about just some marketing elements to help support the launch as well. We did put out an RFQ to solicit creative firms that might be interested in this work. We also worked with the Community Engagement Committee of the new nonprofit organization to prepare that RFQ and evaluate some of the responses. And a firm out of Detroit, actually, Brand Robert, emerged with an interesting perspective on the river project, a good understanding, particularly how community engages and has a connection to the river. So looking to bring him on board and get that work underway. We anticipate about a 2 or 3 month process here over the summer to kind of work through some of these elements. So the request before you, total project budget is 110. We're asking or recommending that the DDA share this cost with the TIFA. So the request to the DDA for 85, but TIFA's not meeting for a little while, so asking here to go up to the full 110, recognizing that we'll also advance a request to the TIFA to help cover the rest of that share when they meet again in June. I also noticed there's a little bit of a typo here in the recommendation. The recommendation said not to exceed 120. That should be 110.
Is there just one person in this firm?
No. There's a couple of folks that run the firm, and they also work with sort of a network of creative folks as well.
Mayor? Yes.
So I'm not familiar with this firm, so I looked it up when I was reading the packet. Do they have any presence over here in Grand Rapids, or are they mostly based out of Detroit, or?
Yeah, mainly over in Detroit. Good. I mean, their network of professionals and folks are over here as well, so they're very familiar with Grand Rapids and West Michigan, but they do reside on the east side of the state. I will say some of the other efforts we're doing around the equity framework and a few other elements to support the start of a very strong local presence. So the team collectively helping to start the organization is locally based.
Can I ask a follow-up? Have they done any work with some of the organizations over in Detroit, like Detroit Riverfront, the Joe Louis Greenway, any of the other public projects over there?
Not necessarily rivers or environmental stuff, but certainly outdoor recreation, active lifestyle stuff, nonprofit organizations, things like that. Yeah.
Nice, thanks.
Ellie?
Just curious what type of response to the RFQ was from the local community and the local agencies. And let me preface it by saying I understand the value add of outside perspective in talent, not a local only person. But just curious if we had a response from the local community, or if that was just not sufficient.
We did have a response. I think we received about probably 9 to 10-ish total proposals. The majority of those locally are West Michigan, including the Lakeshore. And yeah, just as we went through the evaluation of some of the core criteria around demonstrated understanding of the project, community connections, experience creative with diverse groups of communities in metro areas. That's why that firm really rose to the top.
Any other questions? Yes, Member Talon.
Just a comment, Andy. I listened to what you said, because my question was going to be about kind of the equity framework, whether they had experience and background in marketing for everyone in this community, and it sounds like that's the case, and just wanted to say that's definitely a high priority for what I hope happens and comes out of this work. So
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And we are working intentionally across these teams that as the equity framework process starts up this summer, there are going to be some sort of parallels of this work, at least in the early stages. So those conversations will cross over and inform each other.
No one has asked, but I assume this is in our budget.
Yeah, we did budget for it last year and a little bit this new one too.
Just checking. So if there are no other questions, we should entertain a motion to authorize an amount not to exceed $110,000.
Correct.
I'll make that motion, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor.
Support.
Support. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I think you're still up.
I am. We got a couple of river things here. We'll
Okay.
try to keep it moving. A second request here to engage some professional fundraising services to support some planning and organizing around the investment in the Grand River Greenway, really implementation of a lot of the aspects of GR Forward and the River for All plans. We're looking to really do a good, strong environmental scan of a lot of the projects that would potentially relate to the Greenway funding. The results of that evaluation would also help inform a decision-making set of criteria, and we'll put a process around this. Still kind of thinking through what that looks like, but also importantly, looking to engage some support to really think about what other pots of funding are out there. We did receive a significant grant from the state of Michigan that will significantly help to accelerate a lot of our work in the corridor. It's also an opportunity to think about the other funding sources that are out there, both at the state and federal level, and importantly, I think, local philanthropy, and how we're aligning with those partners to grow the pot of money and even further accelerate the implementation of the Greenway spend here over the next 4 years. So requesting an amount not to exceed $50,000 to engage Canary Consulting to help us with this work. We anticipate it's about a 5-month scope of work here. We're still learning some things from the state, getting guidance from the DNR on eligible uses and things of that nature as we try to get organized around the investment plan here. But Canary has very unique experience, I think, in West Michigan, particularly as it relates to parks, trails, greenways, and things like that. So they step in with pretty intimate knowledge of not only what we're trying to do, but a lot of the players in the region that are moving towards the same goals.
Any questions on this? Mr. McNeil? Yeah.
What's our financial rates?
Yeah, so the proposal that we made was a total investment in the Greenway of $175 million, and the ask to the state was to make a significant contribution of about 1/3 of that, and that would help us leverage other dollars into the pot. Now, some of that money is already in. Think about projects like Lion Square, where we have public-private partnerships coming together, the Leonard to Ann Trail, some of those early stage projects that are in the pipeline, demonstrating that kind of partnership that we're used to in terms of the funding sources. We still have some work to do on other projects that aren't as far along in the development pipeline, but that's the target, is to add another 120 to that pot over the next 4 years.
Yes, Mayor?
I'll just add, I'm happy to support this. I think even though we still have some questions with DNR, it's important that we get moving. All of you probably know that there is a time clock with these dollars, that they have to be used within the next 5 years, but allocated even before that. So I think the sooner we can get this framework and start to identify the scope and then look at how these funds can be leveraged to get as many of these projects over the finish line in the next 5 years is really critical. So I think we should move on this quickly, and hopefully they can even accelerate their work from 5 months to maybe even 3 or 4. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I also, I'm happy to support this too. I think at some point, we would hope that Grand River Inc. and the Greenway project would become self-sufficient, so that the DDA is not priming the pump continuously. So I think that's kind of important to keep in mind. So.
Yeah, I appreciate your point, and please know that we have been in pretty regular conversations with the foundation community in particular through the organizing process, and are actually working to schedule a briefing with them this summer on potentially supporting continued efforts to start up the organization and operationalize the business plan and things like that.
Okay. So then I would entertain a motion to approve. Thank you. All right, any other comments, questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Next is the block-by-block agreement funding.
Good morning, everybody.
morning.
I'm here to talk today about the block-by-block contract. So that's the Downtown Ambassador team that we have here in downtown. So just a couple of quick highlights about the contract that I want to just call out. So last fall, October-ish, the Downtown Improvement District worked with our contractor, Block by Block, to use our banked hours to temporarily increase the ambassador's starting wage and subsequently all other employees' wages based on that scale from $13 an hour to $15 an hour, with the understanding that as we move through the Downtown Improvement District reauthorization process to maintain that $15 an hour rate, we would need to codify it through raising additional revenues. The board felt this was really important because we were struggling to hire in what is continuing to be a really competitive market to hire staff. The great news was once we changed the wage from 13 to 15 base, we saw a night and day difference in hiring ambassadors. I can move, sorry about that. So we went from a team that was maybe 60% full to a team that's now 100% full, and we're continuing to add on to that to make sure we don't dip to that level anymore. Additionally, we sent the contract out for RFP this year as well, and we had, in addition to Block by Block, we had one additional firm, a national firm that was really interested in providing services for us. After sort of seeing our downtown and analyzing our current operations and our current budget, they were pretty confident they couldn't provide the same service level for the amount that we were looking to pay. So I think that was good confirmation for both us and the Improvement District Board that the service that we're getting from Block by Block is really great and that we're paying probably the best price that we can get in the market for it. The contract that we're looking to get approval for part of the funding here today is for 1 year with 2 additional 1-year extensions. The total contract is $1,043,755.58, of which the DDA share is $281,410. The other thing I'll add to is that working with Block by Block, we were able to actually get the base wage up to $16.50 an hour. So starting July 1st, this contract is approved, all ambassadors who are making less than that will go up to $16.50, and all long-term employees will have their wages adjusted based on that rate. And we also worked with Block by Block to add 1 week of vacation to all of the ambassadors as well. I think that's all the highlights, and I'll take any questions.
Just in general, what's the, sort of how many employees do you have that have been around for a while, and how many are brand new?
Yeah, so we have quite a few new employees, but we sort of balance that with having a pretty strong core of long-term employees. I think we have on a team that's sort of seasonally adjusted to about 20 employees and kind of goes down to about 15 or so. I think we have about 7 or 8 long-term employees that have been here for more than 2 years. Several of them have been here for 5 years or more, and we have one guy who's worked for Block by Block for about 5 years, but he's actually been on every Clean Team iteration prior to this contract. So
Okay.
I think he's been here for 15
Mary, you have a
years.
question?
You know, thanks, Melvin. I do have a question. I know I think we talked about this a year or two ago, but can you remind me the value of having a contract for our ambassador program versus just having them hired as employees of DGRI?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So that's something we have looked at. So we've done the math in terms of being able to bring those employees in-house, and while initially on paper it looks like we save a lot of money, there's a lot of unknown factors. For example, the DGRI team is relatively small comparatively to the ambassadors, and generally we're doing less HR things, so we don't have an internal HR department, whereas the ambassador team really needs to have sort of that function. There's also a piece about benefits and how that would affect, the current benefits at DGRI, being able to extend those to all of the ambassadors, and how that would play out in terms of costs. So, like I said, on paper, it looks like we save money, but once we really start getting into the details of how to operate the ambassadors as DGRI employees, it becomes really difficult to really know if we're saving any money. Additionally, we would have to probably look at purchasing the equipment outright that we don't technically own, or replacing it, and we would be responsible for all the maintenance, whereas all of that is built into the contract currently. So,
That's helpful.
yeah.
It was looked at pretty closely.
Yeah.
It did when we went through
Yep.
our budget. But
Okay.
Yeah, and we continue to look at that.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
As we're evaluating this each year, and if and when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good to know. Thanks.
Any other questions? Yes.
Chairman's question, would I infer from your answer that the turnover rate, at least in frontline workers, is about 50%?
Yeah, it's been pretty high the last, I would say, 2 years, given the issues with COVID, and our wage really hasn't kept up. It's something we're looking to obviously rectify with the current contract, and the DID board is pretty sensitive to that going forward. And it's something I think we'll continue to look at as we reauthorize the DID and continue to re-up the contract with either block by block or whatever we end up doing in the future too. But I think the struggles with hiring over the last couple of years have really kind of made the wage and the benefits front and center for the Improvement District Board, and really wanting to make sure that, we want to continue to provide the great services that the ambassadors provide, but we need a team to do that. And so we have to make sure that that team feels like they're being taken care of, and we need to make sure that we're paying them, reasonable wages. So,
I suspect there's some amount of correlation between the wage rate and that turnover rate. And so would encourage you to, I don't know if this is set up to be on an annual, or I see that it's a 2-year contract, but to look at or evaluate the wage rate on a maybe 6-month basis.
Yeah.
Because the market is rather fluid right now.
yeah, definitely.
That's putting it nicely. Any other questions? Yes.
This is more of a comment. I just want to, commend you on the thought process around the wage increase, benefits to help with retention. I know for us, we struggle with that as well, trying to keep up and trying to see the traffic so that we can increase our wages, which we can't right now. But I know, hearing from employees and those at least around Studio Park, that it's an important piece. The landscape has changed when it comes to wages, but more so when it comes to who's filling positions. And for us and many small businesses in our downtown, they had historically been filled by older high school students, college students, but now they're being filled with older adults who have different needs. And so many businesses weren't created to pay, $40,000, $50,000 and benefits for someone to take care of their household. But what we find ourselves now as a country is that that's the need, and it looks like you're moving your group in that direction. So just kind of hats off to that.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the block by block agreement. We have support.
Support.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We're going to continue, we're going to skip to number 10 and keep Melvin up at the podium to the DDA liquor license for Noodle Pig.
Good morning still. Yeah, I'm here today to ask the DDA for a resolution to recommend a liquor license for Noodle Pig, a new ramen restaurant heading up in Monroe North at 601 Bond, recommending it to the City Commission. And I actually have Chris Wesley here, the founder of Noodle Pig, if he wants to come up and just give us a spiel about Noodle Pig, and can ask him some questions. I asked him to bring some ramen, but he didn't do that today.
Sorry to disappoint. Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you? Chris Wesley, owner, a founder, and ramen addict of Noodle Pig Ramen Shop. It's now soon coming to 601 Bond Apartments in that first level. Very excited about it. And just a real quick, bullet points about what the company's about. It's the first of hopefully many, and my goal is to create, it's going to be more of a, I will call it a fine casual style environment. So think of fast casual where you think of like Qdoba for ramen is what Noodle Pig is. So we'll have our signature ramen dishes, but you'll also be able to build your own bowl. So very similar to like Qdoba. We'll be doing all the food will be made in-house, from the noodles to the bone broth. And so we'll even have, I imported a Japanese noodle machine that we're going to put right in the window so people actually see us producing it. So it'll be very much like Mackinac making the fudge. You'll be able to see it. And, but I think that people will see that that's fresh, and then they'll understand that everything's made from scratch. But most importantly, what we're doing is we also have we're mission forward or mission driven. And the mission is that for every bowl of ramen that we sell, we're feeding 3 hungry children. 1 child here locally, 1 child nationally, and 1 child abroad. And we're doing that by tying in with 3 specific charities, charity partners, to accomplish that. Again, I'm kind of taking the playbook out of Tom's Shoes or the Bomba socks, where it's a buy one, get one. I think it's very palatable. I think it's easily digestible. I'm using a lot of these adjectives for food, but it is something that you can't solve all the world's problems. You know, it sometimes gets overwhelming, but this is something that's very easy for people to comprehend and attain, and it's really something that's near and dear to my heart, and so I'm just really kind of opening up my mission and inviting people to share in my mission as I grow the noodle company. So I'm here today because during the whole process, I realized that I was looking at a number of different places to put the ramen shop, and the one location, which is North Monroe District, which was very exciting, is that it's within the social district, where we're right on Trowbridge. So that we could, theoretically, we can get a liquor license that is attached to the building. I know, so it's not a traditional one, but now we could actually serve cans of beer, wine, sake, and of course, I'm going to be doing some customized cocktails with boba, so they're going to be called Boozy Boba. And that's going to be, I think, something no one ever really has done around here. I don't know if anybody's done it, but so it's basically, if you know what those boba milk teas are that a lot of young people love, young and old, but now I'm going to infuse it with a little bit of alcohol and make it a lot of fun so that it's great for the adults to come in. So the idea, again, we're very quick turn, like kind of fast casual. So you're coming in, the idea is maybe they'll have one, but then the idea is maybe they can take another one with them to go as they're enjoying the festivities along the riverfront. Any questions? That was a lot to throw at you at once. No? Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
Sounds great.
Yeah, space is looking great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Can't wait. When's your opening date? Sorry.
Yeah, it's a moving target still, so they're thinking July, maybe August.
Okay.
So I signed the lease back in September, so I'm hoping it's not a full year until we can open, but they're making progress, which is great. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions, or I would entertain a motion then?
I'll make the motion.
All right, support? All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll go back to the transit bulb funding authorization. Mr. Miller?
Good morning.
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 So, yeah, this is a project that was actually put into the fiscal year 22 DDA budget, and we have been working throughout the year vetting various locations with various partners to insert one of these, what we refer to as a temporary transit bulb. These are some images. So as you're aware, we installed one on Fulton in 2019. So it's still functioning, and so this is really the ZECLA 2 project, and this particular location really resulted from a collaboration between Mobile GR, the Rapid, Exodus Place, Aligned Planning, Farmhouse Wellness, and Progressive AE. And we've been working over the course of the last few months to sort of vet this location and figure out some of the ancillary pieces and parts that are associated with it. The origin is really about providing safer routes to transit, and specifically the many residents of Exodus Place, which is over here on that side of front. these folks rely on transit to get to their jobs. And I don't know if you followed the link that was in the aligned planning memo that actually showed a wheelchair user going from Exodus Place to the transit stop that exists on Front Street, and sort of that circuitous route that that person had to take to get there. It's sort of a really difficult and sometimes dangerous process for them to access these transit routes. Also, and importantly, part of this project is also extending some bike lanes down Front Street and making a few connections on Wealthy Street. And those are really about strengthening those non-motorized connections and connecting to the Oxford Trail, which is just down Wealthy Street, like a half a block. So that connection is also sort of paramount within this discussion. So the project has funding from Farmhouse Wellness, which is outside of the DDA boundary, again, just about a block west of here. It's through their social equity commitment for their cannabis business. And also the city of Grand Rapids is partnering with this group to facilitate the bike lane, the striping, some of the street improvements. So there's funding from multiple sources here. If you look at so this is not in the DID boundary. So we have a certain level of service to these things that we really can't provide on this one because it's not in our DID. So as part of this project, and you can look on page 4 of the aligned memo that talks about the various pieces and parts that would be operational to this project. And that's a sort of a fluid document or a fluid table that's just trying to identify some potential high-level maintenance and operations of this. And I think specifically in relation to removing snow. So when we have one of these stops, it really doesn't benefit anyone if the snow is not removed from it. So since we can't do that, the team has been looking at alternate solutions for that. And the table in the aligned planning memo states that it's the Rapid. Yesterday, there was some work done, and I think it's Exodus Place now that has come up to the table, and they're really excited about this and are willing to do snow removal, which they currently do on the sidewalks around their facility. So this is really not that much of a leap to get to that point. And then also they're talking about doing any kind of plantings and flowers and irrigation of those flowers or watering those flowers. So I think we have some willing partners here that are really engaged with this project and understand its importance in terms of the connections and the safety, the importance of the safety pieces of it. So I think with that, in my memo that you have, there's a whole series of the big highlights of this project. And obviously the ZECLA stops are essential to this because of the transit operation and the connection, but then there's a whole series of other things. There's artwork that's happening in the street. You can see some of that highlighted in this plan. There's some connections that are going to be made on the sidewalk to actually get you to the transit stop. So those are not part of the request here for your funding. That's some of our other partners that will be funding those things. So this request is really about the 2 transit stops, and we've been working with. This is a unique product. So it comes from Barcelona, Spain. There's really only one manufacturer that we've been able to find internationally or nationally that can make one of these things. We've actually engaged Landscape Forms to see if they could custom build one of these for us. It's not really practical either from a sourcing or from a cost standpoint for them to do that. So we've really elected to move forward with this particular project as a single source. We're recommending that we use Concept Site Furnishings, who installed the previous one. It's a local minority-owned business. He is very good at securing this kind of stuff internationally. He works all over the country actually doing these kind of projects. And he also has a really good understanding of how to do work in the city right-of-way and installing this particular product in the city right-of-way. It's not just dropping it in, it has to be bolted into the street. So there's a certain level of comfort with him as well. So with that, the recommendation is to authorize funding for these 2 Zeklas in a not-to-exceed amount of $85,000. We've done some preliminary pricing, and they're currently under that price, but we don't have them fully designed yet. Well, we should have that within the next couple of weeks. So this is a not-to-exceed number of $85,000, and I'm happy to take any questions regarding this.
Okay, any questions? I'm seeing none. Well explained. I would then entertain a motion to approve the funding.
I move approval.
Thank you.
Support.
And support. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Next, Black History Mural funding. Good morning.
Good morning. Here to talk about art. So with me today is Jen Schaub from Dwelling Place, and we have a recommendation in front of you to help fund the next iteration of the Heartside Historic murals. And last year, we kind of focused specifically on Black history. This year, we're looking at expanding that to all cultural historical moments from our local history, and it's really up to the artists on picking what historical image and moment that they want to portray. So I have Jen here to talk a little bit about the program.
Great. So hi, everybody.
Maybe.
I'm Jen Schaub. I am one of the directors of Community Building and Engagement at Dwelling Place. You may know us. We are an affordable housing provider that has been working in Grand Rapids in West Michigan for 42 years now. And we come into the arts by understanding that communities need opportunities to express themselves, to see their culture reflected back from the walls and hallways of the communities that they are a part of. And so we get really excited about creating opportunities that create a greater sense of community for those residents, connecting the awareness of residents to their neighborhood history, because sense of place is incredibly important. And then also really making sure that residents have a voice in what their neighborhood looks like, what they see around them. And of course, as someone who's passionate about working with artists, we're always looking for ways to honor their commitment and their connection within their communities as well. I'm not sure if I did that right. That'd be great. Let's go to that next slide. All right. So I appreciate that, Tim. So last year, we did a series of murals. These are some of the existing murals that we have created in the neighborhood. You might be familiar with the one that's right on the corner of Cherry and South Division. That one is about almost 20 years old now. It is part of the Package Park streetscape there, and it honors the history of Furniture City. We also, so the other images we're going to see are from last year's project. So we did 5 murals last summer, funded by the DDA. Thank you for that. You may remember that the themes really were very inclusive. We had 3 that focused on Black history and Black Grand Rapidians and their stories, and then also 2 additional that really focused on place. So we see one of our visiting artists actually from last summer, Ijana Cortez, who created the mural that's on the corner of South Division and Williams. It's a 3-story building, a 2-story mural, and it features 3 Black activists who created the Grand Rapids Black People's Free Store in the 1960s. We have a history mural that's more place-based that was about the Ionia Street rail station and all of the immigrants who came to Grand Rapids using that rail station to really embark on their first experiences here in the city. We have a mural that honors Dr. Ella Mary Sims on the side of Weston Apartments on Weston and Ionia Street. You see the artist for that piece, Dustin Hunt, who was our other visiting artist last year. He's from the Lansing area. We have Edwin Anderson down here on the corner, an artist who created a piece that's right there at the corner of Wealthy and South Division, honoring the history of some of the entertainment venues in the Heartside area that featured Black performers. And then we have a history a mural that's at the corner of South Division and Weston Street that honors the AIDS Resource Center and the work that LGBTQ people did to get recognition for the AIDS pandemic and epidemic in the 90s, and so 80s and 90s. So we're really excited about this year's project. We are looking at 4 or 5 different locations throughout the neighborhood. I think we will end up with 4. We're still working with Historic to determine if one of the sites is going to be viable. With that in mind, we are focusing this year exclusively on local artists, and we've increased the pay rate for those local artists. Last year, it was a little bit tipped where that visiting artist, those 2 visiting artists got a higher pay rate because we covered their travel expenses. We really wanted to honor local artists this year and ensure that everyone got a bump. So we're actually paying a little bit more than I think some of the local mural projects do. And one of the things that's really unique about this process is that we have a community committee that is comprised of stakeholders and residents of the neighborhood who guide the entire process. So from the beginning, when we create that call for artists, they provide feedback, they help shape the budget, and their feedback helps us to move forward. So some of the feedback that they've given us this year that will change our project will include the opportunity for an artist apprentice program for young artists that would like to participate by working alongside our professional artists. So they will get a stipend and they will be on site during the time that we are painting. We are also shifting to trying to focus a lot of the installation dates to 1 week. Last year we really kind of spread it out over the course of a month. We're trying to condense that a little bit so that we can get residents in the neighborhood to come out, see the artists at work, and really capitalize on just getting people to kind of know those artists. And the other thing that's really unique about this process is that we connect the artist directly with local historian resources. So we choose the artist first, based off of the work that they've done in the past in the community. That we do not start with their draft idea. We start with the artist first, and that artist is selected by the community committee. We then connect them, we sit down with them, and we go through a list of ideas that the community has put together about mural concepts. Once the artist chooses their concept, we connect them directly with local historians so that they can do deeper research about that while they develop their design. The community has an opportunity to give feedback about that design before we actually move forward with approving it. And then we go in front of the art committee for the city, and we give them final approval to start install. So this process takes us the entirety of the summer, and we are really excited about this year. This is kind of our timeline. And at the end of the season, we host a series of walking tours with Carolyn Cook to visit the neighborhood, see the murals, and spread the word. Last year, we also captured that information digitally, and it is available on the Dwelling Place website, so people can listen to it as they're out and about, using it sort of in a podcast style so that you can walk the same route and experience hearing a little bit more about the history of the murals and some of the sites along the walking path. So that's our project.
Yeah, and some of these proposed locations that we're looking at are much larger than most of the ones that we've done last year. One in particular that I'm really excited for is the Rockwell Republic Wall. It's a potential location, which is just screaming for a mural. So with that, before you today is a recommendation of proposed for $50,000, not to exceed that out of the public space activation line item out of FY23. Yeah.
Is this building on the list?
Good question. Good question.
This is a potential Women's Way alley that we've looked at possibly doing.
Okay.
So
We are working on it. Right.
Just a thought.
you don't like this view?
Yeah. Any questions, comments? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the funding of $50,000.
So
One of you would like to be the support?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll keep you updated on the process as we continue to move forward once we start selecting the actual locations and artists and stuff. So that it's moving along quite quickly. So next I have a recommendation to support 2 major event sponsorship upcoming events, one being happening July 30th, which is the Global Water Festival, organized by the Asian Pacific Islander Festival. ACE is the director, and this is something that we, the DDA, you all funded last year for the first event ever. Happened at 6th Street Park and Canal, and originally it was focused on Asian cultural water, historical and new ways to get involved in the river, and it grew into something so much larger than that. It really is a global water festival, and they brought in our Native American community, our Indian community, so many different other cultural heritage communities to showcase how they use water for healing and celebration, and they're going to build upon that even more this year. And expand that. They're bringing in larger dragon boat racing this year, so that's really exciting. That was a huge hit. And we also are looking to show support for Art Prize. Art Prize is coming back, and I have Craig here from Art Prize if you want to come up and talk a little bit about what we're to expect this year.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be in front of this group. Appreciate all the support over the years. And this year's Art Prize is focused very much on the visitor experience and what that visitor is going to encounter, who they're encountering, how they're doing it. So really focus on 4 major questions, and that's where am I, what's around me, how do I get there, and what must I see? And with the support from this group, they're really solving one of the most common questions that we as a staff get, venues get it, artists get it, are what must I see? So our grant program is focused on large experiential art installations. This money would go directly to support those art installations around Grand Rapids. Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet because I know we're short on time.
Any questions for Craig? Okay. Next up, Ace. Ace can talk a little bit about what's happening for the Global Water Festival this year, all the new stuff.
I appreciate the surprise. Yeah, I just came in. So I'm so excited about Global Water Fest this year. This year we are, well, let me recap real quick. Last year we brought in the first ever Global Water Fest. And what it was is a celebration of water. And we brought in like the dragon boats in the Grand River. You should have seen the sites. I think we have some pictures, but I'm not going to show that.
They're in your packet.
Okay. So we brought in the first ever Dragon Boat Festival, or Global Water Festival, we call it, here in Grand Rapids. And I could see the excitement that's building in the communities. You know, with our partnerships with the community, it's slowly bringing in the diversity that we want. Celebration of water. And all I could think about is a Filipino word called bayanihan, is where we're calling all the community members to just come together and celebrate. So this year, we're bringing in the bigger boats. So we have space for 20 people in each boat. And I could just see it. Can we have a DJI team? Can we have a City of Grand Rapids team rowing together, showcasing the diversity of our city? So we are bringing in the big boats. These are the boats that compete all throughout the United States. And so this is where we are slowly bringing in the excitement in the water, activating the water. You guys have any questions at all?
Any questions?
Yes. So I was in one of the boats.
Yes.
Let me just say that one arm was more tired than the other. 60 seconds of the hardest 60 seconds of my life. But it was a great time. So much camaraderie with everyone, so much excitement, cheering, and You know, some people didn't know what they were looking at, cheering anyway. Yeah, my kids, we all had fun there. Started off cold that morning, but it didn't.
Yes. So I get too excited, I didn't get a chance to really talk about what we're doing this year. But last year we brought in so many different cultures. We started out with the natives blessing the water, and we wanted to do the same thing. We want to honor the people who first, whose water it is. And so we are so excited about bringing that on. But we want to partner up with some of the people, like the Indian community. They talk about the snake boats. So everybody's like talking about the water now. And I could just see this going on for many years. And slowly, once we're more self-sustaining, I think this is going to be a fantastic addition to the city of Grand Rapids.
Sure. Can I ask
Yes.
a question? So one, I'm so glad to see it coming back. And I looked, and maybe I just missed it. Do you have a date set for that yet?
Yes, it's July 30th
Okay.
is what we talked about.
I didn't see it in the memo. I thought maybe I missed it. So July 30th?
July 30th.
Okay.
So it's warmer this year.
I was going to say, very strategic. And then my follow-up question is, as we work to restore the rapids, do you anticipate that will be problematic? Will it be helpful? Have you thought about that? Especially once we remove the 4 lower dams?
We thought about that because that could change the dynamics of the racing, but we really just need about 300 meters to race. So I can picture us finding that spot somewhere along the lines. Once things develop, we will be able to see where we're actually going to bring this race. Maybe next to the amphitheater. I'm just excited about the possibilities.
Okay, great, thanks.
Just a comment, I was not in a boat when, I was on the lake. That was great. It was great fun, and I look forward to the next iteration of this.
Thank you.
How do you get in a boat?
That's a fantastic question because I personally, carefully, I don't know how to swim. Well, I do, but I'm not going to swim there. River for now. We carefully get into the launch pad by the canal park.
Okay.
And hopefully we could partner up with some of our city here where we could actually put in a floating barge and make it easier. One of my dreams, or hopefully in the future, is where we could have a floating entertainment center. So while we're having the dragon boat races in between, we'll have an entertainment in a floating barge per se.
That's great.
Nice.
Would that need an
Can be done.
Eagle permit?
Yeah, let's not go there. All right, any other questions? Sounds like fun. Yes, Member Talent.
Comment back to our prize when that's appropriate, before we vote.
There is a recommendation ahead of you guys today. One of the things I didn't mention for our prize is we were under a 3-year contract, basically with them, and that ended last term. That was the last year. So before you is a recommendation to fund our prize again for $50,000 and entering into a 3-year agreement again. We'll still come back every year, of course, in front of you for final approval. So I don't know if that answers anything you were about to say, but happy to answer what you have.
No, I appreciate that. I just wanted to nudge us again in the direction of encouraging Art Prize to work on bringing a more diverse crowd into downtown for Art Prize. That's one of our primary interests at DGRI and DDA. We have some really good experience with the work we did years ago with Movies in the Park, and I think learned a lot from that on how to be able to do that, and I'd love to see us apply some of that and use some of these dollars for Art Prize support to bring a more diverse community to downtown for Art Prize. So just, I recognize we have what we have now, but moving forward in future years, maybe we could emphasize that.
I think we can work with Art Prize to give some tips on some of the things that we've done in the past, for sure, for this year that they could possibly implement. And this year's funding would go to support some of the larger featured public art installations. As we've learned with World of Winter and in the past through Art Prize, the community seems to really, really love the large, like, international installations, and that has a huge draw for diverse audience. So hopefully by funding some of these and bringing back some of the larger installations that are potentially interactive, that will help one part and one aspect of that. But we can absolutely continue to share some of our best practices.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Craig, is there anything you wanted to add on that and just some of the work that you're already doing? Yeah, so we actually partnered with Steelcase and a couple other sponsors on building relationships over the last year and into the future. Our prize has been in a really weird situation. 2018 was a normal year, 2019 Project One, COVID 2020. And then 2021, people thought it was going to be a project year because we took a year off. And then, so it's like this convolution of messaging that has been going out over the last 18 months. So we finally have like this ability to create a stable foundation to build upon this year. And found some great partners to start building those relationships with communities in each of the 3 wards. That's where we're going to start in each of the wards, and then branch out from there. And I really appreciate DGRI's support on sharing some best practices. What Tim and I have already talked about so far has been working. So we want to continue down that path.
Any other questions?
No, maybe just to clarify, so there's 2 recommendations here. One is for the Global Water Fest and the other is for Art Prize.
Yep, so one is for Art Prize, not to exceed $50,000 for major event support with a 3-year term contract, and then supporting Global Water Fest at the amount of $35,000.
So we'll do 2 motions. First, if I could get a motion for approval of the Art Prize contract. Did you have a question, Member Talbot?
Want to clarify, the Global Water Fest is 1 year?
Yes.
Or is that also 3?
1 year.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with our prize contract. If I could get a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great. And next would be the sponsorship of the Global Water Festival.
I move approval.
Thank you. Support. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Awesome. And as part of sponsorship for the Global Water Festival, as Ace mentioned, we do get a dragon boat. DGRI gets a team. So if any of you are interested as board members to participate, and Rosalind, if you want to learn how to get in a boat firsthand, let me know.
I may take you up on that.
Okay. Offers out there. Thank you.
Just a question, how big were the boats last year then?
So last year, we only had room for 12 people.
12, okay.
Last year, we only have room for 12 people. This year, we have room for
20.
18 paddlers, 1 drummer, 1 steersman, and it's exciting because now we have a room for a flags person. So this flag person is, you have to grab this flag at the end of the finish line. And if you miss that, your team loses. So Jermaine,
No pressure.
no pressure, man. I can see Rosalind in the front, flag.
This could be fun.
I will say we did have Miss Michigan on our boat as well.
Competition.
Wow. All right. Oh my gosh, is that the end of the motions, Mr. Kelly?
That is the end of the motion. We do have one more update, though.
Okay.
So we got a 2-page agenda. Next up, just wanted to give you all an overview and update on where things stand with Just Air. So that's our air quality monitoring work that's been going on, and we do have Darren Riley here to give us just a couple updates. Yeah.
Morning, everybody. Just want to give you all a quick overview of where we are with Just Air, as well as share some interesting updates that we have for DGRI and what we've been doing just as a whole. Just a quick reminder, our whole goal here is to fix this USB connection. So really we exist to protect the 20,000 breaths that every human being takes on average per day. Is super important because for many communities or areas, those 20,000 breaths could be working against their lives. What you see here is a study in 2019 around the highest environmental justice scores in the state. One of the census tracts being here in King County, Census Tract 0039. People are familiar around the Granville corridor. Of the top 10 environmental justice scores, there are 5 census tracts that exist in King County around the Grand Rapids metro area. And so that's really at the core of what we're trying to get after, is really how do we look at those inequities. I mean, part of that is obviously education, economic income, but also other environmental factors that play into that score. So the higher, the worser. And so that's really what we're all about. Air pollution is a huge cost to the U.S. annually, $600 billion. This is largely underpinning education, the cost of remediating issues around the breathing environment, and also the loss of human life if there's air quality related illnesses, et cetera. So I won't spend too much time belaboring on this, just sake of time. That's why core of the issue, however, is that we have a blindfold of understanding what's going on in our breathing environment, which is why Just Air exists. At the core, what we're doing is using different technologies, which I'll quickly go through, to take the blindfold off, understand what's going on in our air so we can deploy solutions to curb some of those inequities and create a more just breathing environment for everyone. Starting off with the work that we've done here in Grand Rapids with you guys' support about a year or so ago. This allowed us to create our community dashboard, which is launched and publicly available. Currently, what I'll get into later in the ask is to find some community members who will be interested in testing some of our texting application, understand the cadence of language that we're using to make sure it's accessible before we launch that publicly, hopefully by the end of July. Lastly, I'll just show you some quick technologies to get some gears turning in your mind. We got subcontracted by oil and gas company to build a technology which can be used in a residential community environment. What you see here in front of you is a map that we take data from the wind, pollution data to pinpoint where sources of pollution is coming from. This is very important and really critical to remediate issues faster and address things that may be happening in the breathing environment. The same technology is applicable to communities and residential areas. Coolest stuff here that I'd love to present to you all or get you guys ideas on is around trucking traffic. Again, we're taking a holistic approach of observing the air. Many of you all know that trucking traffic, freight traffic creates a disproportionate amount of pollutants and also happens to typically go through black and brown communities across the U.S. And as you see the map below, typically cities that have ports and black and brown communities that are surrounding those are typically the ones that are facing those disparities of NO2 inequality, which contributes to health. We partnered with University of Michigan to develop this very innovative technology to autonomously track trucking traffic. This is currently done with pen, paper, and clipboard. Also with people are familiar with axle counters, which is a little bit inaccurate. I won't go into details there, but this technology that's built here in Grand Rapids is applicable in the U.S. My advisor, who's one of the leading policy and researchers in environmental justice and transportation justice, says this is pretty much a game changer, and looking at some of the research papers this can be used for. So super excited to deploy this and collaborate here and see. So it's giving you all an overview. And last but not least, we had an EPA grant opportunity. We had collaboration from different partners, from the NAACP, the city, of course. I see Josh is here. Thanks so much. And Allison Sutter from the city. We had Eagle support from the Air Quality Division, Spectrum Health, and some of the leadership there and their team, and obviously C4, grassroots community organization around climate change, to really come together to support a $500,000 grant that will be used to support all the Grand Rapids monitoring for 3 years. The positive news is that we haven't heard any bad news. I've heard from other communities this grant won't know until the end of October. I'm hearing probably November, but I've already heard some communities already get denied, so we haven't got denied yet, so keep your fingers crossed. But this would be a game changer to really bring out this innovation that really started here with this board. So thank you so much for that work. Really quick, I'll just show you a quick demo. I know last time we probably spoke, we were talking about the admin dashboard, and Marion has been super helpful in getting us there. So I'll just show this off really, really fast. And this will be accessible for any stakeholder. So the city, Marion and team, and whoever want to use this tool, and also looking at community leaders, use this tool as well, have access. So this is our current dashboard. This is live. It looks like kind of a weird color, but it's yellow on my screen. So we're a bit moderate in all the monitors here below. So the admin dashboard, really fast. Yeah, really cool stuff. So this is just network. We have different metrics. How many unhealthy air quality alerts in the past 24 hours per sensor? We had about 8. How many residents are signed up? I won't go in detail there. Some KPIs. There's also the streets and the associated latest readings from all the different monitors. We have a community dashboard, all the phone numbers and people who are subscribed, and also a community communication tool where stakeholders who have access to those communities can send out notifications, awareness alerts, or events to kind of highlight some of the space, and there's a reporting tool as well. I just want to show off some show and tell technology for you guys. And last but not least, I have just some, I want to give you all that overview and that support, but just a couple asks where we are today. Really asking for this group. I would love to have 4 to 5 beta testers on the air quality alert system from this group here. Also, would love any connections, opportunities in the 3rd Ward. I think there's a lot of, the census tracts showed us that there's some opportunities there to bring this technology, so any connections there. And lastly, the pilot opportunities around the sourcing location tool or the trucking tool. If you might have ideas or projects where this could be significantly helpful, I love those ideas as well. So more of informational, no decisions made here, but we're going to keep chugging along, and I look forward to expanding the admin dashboard. So sorry if I went way over, but.
Yes, Member Talon.
Still struggling to find the dashboard. I've been looking for it for months, and I'm looking for it again this morning, and I thought there was going to be a link from the DGRI website.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to, I'll send the email, but I'll just go over everybody else. But it's just here.netlify.app.
Well, I guess, is there a link on the DGRI website? It seems that we talked about it. Is that something we will be doing, or, okay?
Yeah, we'll link to your site.
Yeah, right. That would be helpful, I think, for the community to be able to easily access it without a URL. Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good.
I was on your website recently. Is there a link from the city site?
Not yet.
Okay. I must have just had it in one of Allison's emails. We were just talking about Just Air yesterday at the City Commission budget update. So appreciate your continued work with us.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'll be around after the meeting, and we'll love to connect with you all. We'll see those asks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Okay, next is Mr. Kelly's report.
Yeah, and we threw a lot at you this morning, so I won't add too much. Just a couple of quick highlights. One related to the river again. We are soliciting public nominations for a stakeholder advisory group that'll help guide the engagement around the river equity framework. So if anyone has nominations that they'd like to let us know about, please send them along. You can also read more about that effort on a link at Grand River Voices, the Grand River Voices website, and we can send that out as well, just so you all know. But that's in support of the river equity framework that you all approved last month, or 2 months ago, excuse me. Also wanted to point out our Heartside Quality of Life listening sessions that we talked about last month. Those are getting started shortly and will be running through the summer, just to invite input from neighbors on the quality of life plan that the city helped put together in tracking implementation and making sure that that document and that work still reflects community priorities. So that is ongoing. Also, we had a great event with the Latino Community Coalition at the end of April 26th down at Studio Park for the La Herencia update, which we got last month. We do have a video from that we're happy to send out. Kim can help get us the link, and we'll share that with the board. On the event side of things, in addition to the Bieber concert on Thursday and the Amway Riverbank Run, we do have a couple of events to point out. One is the night markets that you supported, so that'll kick off on Saturday over at 555. And then Jen and the Dwelling Place team are also convening a session around I Don't Know What You Don't Know. So again, that's a neighbor sharing exercise activity that is also on Saturday night that we're happy to share the flyer on. And then lastly, just a quick staffing update. You may have noticed a familiar face back on the couch here, but Mr. Bill Kirk has joined us again from the Rapid, coming in as a communications director. So we're happy to have him back and all of his knowledge and experience in the city and downtown specifically. So those are my quick updates.
They always come.
Like a boomerang. Yeah.
Yes, Mayor.
Can I ask you just a couple updates? And I'm sorry if you shared this at one of the prior meetings and my brain's just not holding all the information. Any update on the Eagle permit for Lions Square? I know it was submitted. Have we heard any preliminary feedback from Eagle? I'll just ask all three my questions.
Yep.
I know we talked in the past about doing a private contract to get all of the empty or dead tree wells filled.
Yep.
So I believe that was like 490 trees. Are we on track to get that done this season? And then any additional conversations or plans to make Ottawa two-way? I've now heard from a couple property owners on that street, and they keep asking me when that's going to happen.
Let me start with Lion.
Start with the easy
Those are my three.
Yeah, the Lion, the resubmitted, the updated application went in a month ago. We are still waiting for an update from Eagle. We had a meeting on it this week with a consultant in city, just to make sure we're on the same page, but we are still waiting for feedback from them. The next step would be for them to do the public noticing. They do have 90 days, yeah. So we're closely following that, and we'll share updates with them. Trees, we do have an RFP that will go out. If it hasn't already, where's Melvin? Did it go out?
So we have an RFP drafted. I'm waiting on some results from some site analysis to understand where best to direct these potential respondents to where we want to remove stump locations and what sort of amending these sites need, and then be able to plan. So we're hoping to get it out real soon. I'm just waiting for an updated analysis from friends.
Okay.
Meaning within the next couple of weeks it'll go out. So the goal and plan is still to have the plans done this calendar year.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then two-way of Ottawa, nothing has changed on that since we last met. We're still in conversations with the city and trying to see if that's an opportunity that we can pursue this year.
Okay.
What would next steps be for that? How would we get that?
Maybe you just need to talk to city manager Kate
Okay.
Behrens
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, we'll check in with them.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Just following the mayor's lead, ask for updates, Rosa Park Circle and the deployment of the new wayfinding.
Yes, wayfinding, the skywalk is out for bid currently, so that work should be done this calendar year yet, and then we are getting together a bid package and understanding a budget for the longer term implementation for the fixed signage. And then Rosa, the opening date was set for June 16, so the reopening of the space. There's still some work that needs to get finished up out there based on, they had to wait for the weather to become a little bit warmer to finish it up, but it is set for June.
Can I ask
Yes.
one more question?
Please,
Just
yeah.
Off of Greg's?
Yeah.
So when Rosa opens back up, are we prepared to move forward with some of the events that we usually plan?
Yeah, our
So
team is
we're
already
teed
set up for Relax at Rosa series for the summer.
Okay, great, thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, now is the time for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come forward, please do. All right, seeing none. Board member discussion. Any words of wisdom to take us through the rest of the week? I am actually going to the Bieber concert. So I'm gonna admit it publicly right now.
Good for you. You and 18,000 are your best friends.
Right. Right, we have a big group.
Yeah, we expect it to be very crowded. Enjoy.
It'll be fun. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
I went to Sting the other night.
Oh yeah, I saw someone posted a picture of them, like they did a selfie of themselves with Sting.